what you would do is have a lovely well-rooted plant. Now you want to administer it, or let's put that in other words. What you want to do is plant it in the system with doing minimal damage to the root ball. Now an easy way to do that is to turn the pump on, flood the system so all 4 pods are completely saturated with water. At that point you can bury the whole rockwool block into the pebbles without doing much damage to the root ball. What you do have to remember is to take the plastic off of the rockwool block. If you don't take the plastic covering off, it will prohibit the root ball from growing out the side of the rockwool, in so doing restricting the oxygen to the root system. Now, that's one way of doing it, is flooding the system and then burying the rockwool in. The other way of doing it is baling out X amount of clay and then putting it in place and then putting clay on top in order to secure its position. Either way will suffice. I find it a lot easier and quicker just to push it into a flooded system. Now, once it's in place, you'd want a pebble mass just to cover the top of the rockwool itself, i.e. 1 to 2 levels of pebbles. You do not want the rockwool exposed to the light. Because the rockwool is very water retentive, it ends up holding a lot more moisture, and in so doing, when the light's reacting with the moisture, you can get algae breakouts, which isn't too sightly. It's not that detrimental to the plant, but it can encourage all sorts of unwanted disease and bacteria and that sort of thing. So if you bury it beneath the clay pebbles, the pebbles act as a barrier to the light reacting with the moisture in the rockwool. Now, you would then at that point look to lower the light, possibly by 1 foot. Originally you had the light 3 to 4 foot away from the canopy of the propagator. At this point now you'd want to be 3 to 2 foot away from the canopy of the plant. So you would raise it or lower it slightly, but you wouldn't want to drop it 1 foot instantly. Okay? If you dropped it 1 foot overnight, the plants could go into shock, so you gradually do it over the course of a week, a couple of inches a day. There's a very easy acid test to find out exactly how close you can get the light to the plant, and that's simply the back of your hand. If you raise your back of the hand up to the lamp itself, as soon as you feel any radiant heat hitting the back of the lamp, or the back of your hand, that is approximately how close you can get the light to the canopy without killing it. However, on seedlings and cuttings and young plants, you have to overcompensate that. To give you an example, if you had a plant that's approximately, 2 foot tall and strong and bushy and really having the lust of life, you would then lift your hand up to the back of the light until you felt the radiant heat, and then you get that as close as you can get your hand to it without burning your hand, without feeling that heat. When they're this big, you still want the light a good 3 foot away from the canopy of the plant. The plant will then grow up. As the plant's growing up, you want to be bringing the light down. So the plant's growing up, the light's coming down. Till you get to a point where you can't get the light any closer to the plant without burning it. Then the plant goes up and so does your light. Now, at this point, what we recommend doing is raising the plant to approximately a foot and a half tall on your grow A and B nutrient. Okay, you're on a photo period of approximately 18 to 20 hours a day, and you're using the grow continuously through that period, always keeping the CF level to around 12 to 14, always keeping the pH level to approximately 6. You can let the pH raise to 6.5 and then knock it back to 6, then let it raise to 6.5 and then knock it back, but always maintaining it around 6. Now, once they're a foot and a half tall, you can then basically change a nutrient solution to bloom, or it's also known as floras, it's also known as flower, which is a different stock solution. You will also then change your lighting period down to 12 hours on, 12 hours off. 12 hours on, 12 hours off, in most species of plant, will induce the fruit or flowering phase. What the plant thinks is happening is the summer's coming to an end, the nights are drawing in, and they're forced to reproduce. So what you are basically doing is tricking the plant into thinking that the summer and winter is coming on strong, i.e. the summer's ending, winter's coming, we better reproduce our fruit or flowers. And a 12-hour photo period in most plants will induce it to fruit or flower. Now, when you've gone on to the 12-hour light period, you'll then want to go on to, instead of grow nutrient, you'd go on to bloom nutrient.